Hello and welcome back to City Bus Manager, and here we are once again with our company Dave Coach operating in the marvellous Welsh city of Swansea. Anyway, in this one it's going to be a very quick episode, and once again I'm sorry I do not have a colour scheme for these buses down here. This is going to wait. This episode is purely here to answer the pressing question about the mystery of the missing episode. What happened to episode 6? Why is it not here? Why did I jump from 5 to 7? And it's going to come with an apology. I had thought it had been posted. I don't know what happened to it, but it's sort of been lost in the ether and has become unrecoverable for now, which is a shame. It was actually quite a good episode by my standards. One that I was fairly pleased with. So, what was it involved with? You can probably guess, which is all to do with scheduling and setting up our schedule. So it started off with me unlocking our shift schedule. So just in research, I came down and we finally had enough trophies to unlock the shift schedule. I clicked on that. It unlocked eventually. And while we're here, we might as well upgrade another one of those. And then after getting that, and it finally came through, I came round to allocating my shifts. So first thing that I wanted to do was work out vehicle groups. So I came into here, I went into manage vehicle groups, and then you start off with minibus, solar bus, double-decker buses, and articulated bus. These are the four categories of the buses that you have. So these are the 4 group categories that you started off with. Then I went for new vehicle group, and I typed in the name of a new vehicle group. So I started off with SW for Swansea, City MIDI 1, assuming that at some point I'd have a City MIDI 2, which we put in the last episode, a Swansea City Mini for the new Ramesses. So this was for all my solo buses, all these sort of MIDI, the middle-sized buses. They're not the full-length ones, they're probably only like 30 footers, so you get like longer coaches and stuff. And then later on I did City MIDI Bendy. Maybe I should go for City MIDI Mega, for Swansea City Mega, and I'm really struggling getting these right words out in order, just so everything was an M, just to be super duper confusing. Anyway, once I had my groups sorted out, I came back in here. Now imagine you got everything says no bus driver as it does here, and then it has no preferred group. So what you will, as default, everything will say no preferred group down here. They'll all say, and if you just assign buses, it'll just randomly assign any duty to any bus, and you can drag and drop it across, and you can manually do each one, but it takes quite a while. So initially what I did was I came through and I allocated all of these to their dedicated ones. So I went to City MIDI 1 for you, City MIDI 2, City MIDI, and it takes quite a while, but I did every single one of these with a category, and then I went assign buses. So there we go. So when you go assign buses automatically, it will assign all of these shifts onto the buses over here. So for example, all these articulated bus routes have gone on the bendy buses. If we go into settings, we can change how long we want in between shift periods. So I was like, well, buses can come back in and go back out again. They should all have a fuel tank big enough to do a whole day's driving. And if any do come in broken, then they get fixed up and stuff. And hopefully I can catch a couple, but we'll turn them around as quickly as possible. Bus drivers probably want a little bit longer than this, so I gave them an hour and a half to have lunch in between shifts. So what this probably means is if they're coming back in after doing a full long morning shift, they won't be here to do the full afternoon shift, because that would be going out at the same time. So what they might get to do is do the full morning shift and then cover a rush hour evening shift. So that my idea there was that they wouldn't be overstressed on the drivers. However, stress level does keep persisting, so maybe I should just up this to like 2 hours or something, but we'll leave it, do 100 minutes. Like 100 minutes is a mega lunch break, but I suppose when you don't go home, it's a bit tricky. So all shifts must have the same preferred vehicle group. Okay, so anyway, that's how we got all the shifts assigned. However, when it does come to assigning drivers automatically, I explained this because the way it used to work, which was quite a while ago now, is you had a list of all your drivers down here. So you would click on, you'd have all your drivers. So we're going to assign bus drivers now. And so we have this list open here, and we had a list of every single bus driver in alphabetical order going down here, and this would come in here, and it would look at this list of drivers, and it would pick the first name on the list, and then you'd come to the next one, and it would pick the second name on the list, and then the third name on the list, and then the fourth name on the list, and then the fifth name on the list, and so on and so on and so on. And then when these drivers came back in, obviously Archie would still be called Archie, so his name would still be top of the list. And so he would just come in and be picked up again, and then again first time. And so these guys at the top would be stressed, like they're just tearing their hair out, non-stop work, like hundreds of hours a week. And then you'd get down to the bottom of the list, and someone like Xander would be getting virtually no work. So what they have now is, instead of having a list of drivers alphabetically, is all these drivers are now in a queue. And the first drive, so it comes up to the first morning, and so if we look at tomorrow's schedule, so first thing in the morning we have the Swansea 11 service to cover, and we have all our drivers now lined up in a row, and it's hypothetically to say they all have no drive time. So they're all there, all equal. And so the first driver steps forward and takes up Swansea 11. He goes off and he drives that shift. And then everyone steps forward. Then we have this one here to cover. And then as everyone steps forward, the new person at the front of the queue steps forward and will take on this 7B. So this goes on. And then when these buses start coming in, so at 5:35, when driver 1 comes back in with this one, if he comes, he joins the back of the queue, and so every other driver will have to have driven a shift before he gets reallocated to one. So this should maximise the amount of time that the drivers have back in the depot in between shifts. And so having this with 100 minutes in between just means that there should be a minimum of there has to be a minimum of 100 minutes between in this queue. But if it's like a Sunday when there's a lot fewer, they will have at least 100 minutes, but maybe they will have considerably more than that. So that was how all of our shift scheduling sort of thing works. The only other thing that I found out afterwards, and did mention up, but I'll mention it now as well, so we can have the whole shift schedule thing in one process, is you can choose which service you want, which bus group you want on each of these. So on the Swansea City 1B, I knew from the B I wanted a midi bus, and I've not assigned this to the bigger midi bus group yet, so this is a midi 1. And all of these buses, when it comes down to be allocating, will now have a City midi 1. And this just saves a lot more time than having to come through here and individually putting in the group categories of all of these buses. Because as you can now see, they are all allocated in already. Saves you a lot of time, that one, and I didn't realise that was a nice upgrade beforehand. Similarly, I hadn't realised that in here it now tells you how much each of these drivers have worked in the previous 7 days. So some of these have worked quite a lot, like some of them are getting big 60 odd hour weeks, which is a substantial amount of work. So I want over 60, yeah, 62, 69. That number seems to be haunting us. It seems to be tracking everything that we do. I mean, while it's a funny number, I'm sure for Pavel, he did not appreciate it and would rather that to be a little bit lower. And I've just given him another bit of work. Whoopsie. But yeah, the aim is to try to have people around the 40, 45, tops sort of 50 hours a week. Just imagine, like, if you have your work, when you're working in the real world, how long is your work week? I suppose the average work week in the UK is about 40 hours, and that is what the drivers want to do. Some don't mind doing a little bit of overtime over that, so you can push it up to the 45 and the 50, as long as you don't make a habit of it. I know my last series I allocated all the drivers out so that I could try and make it so we had all the weekday staff and then weekend staff, but that was a very complicated thing to make work, and I think just allowing it to be automatically assigned the drivers is a lot easier. So anyway, that is how it all works, and that was how I scheduled up. Was mostly what I did in episode 6 was all of that, which I've now breezed over in 11 minutes when the episode was going to be 25-26 minutes long. So as a little bonus for you guys for watching up to here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how this works by putting in a new service. So we're going to go for bus routes. I'm going to do one of these public service routes. So we're going to do this first Swansea one, which requires 305 buildings, 61 points of interest, 11 bus stops, Monday to Friday every 2 hours, then Saturday at the weekends every 90 minutes and 2 minutes between each stop. So of course we will start at the usual over here, then you'll come out along this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a loop up through here. Just do a little circular route. Don't need to do much more than that. It's not like it's a big, need to do a big service. So, going to come down this way, come out along here, interesting, I hadn't realised I couldn't come through, but that of course that bit's broken, so we just go zigzag around like this, and then back in to the bus station. So it's just a little circular route around the centre, going up to the park, coming through. I'm not sure it's going to be the most popular route, but anyway, we'll just put in this as Swansea 18 for a circular route. Then over here we'll do Rowstop Hill, we'll give that, why not, as a middle point. Rowstop Hill North, we'll wait there a few minutes and we will copy this and paste it in on the other one. So this is all as we know. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put this as a MIDI 1 on these ones. MIDI 1, wait, so as you see, if I assign City MIDI 1 here, it will do this. So City MIDI 1, it'll use that for every single day. However, what I have now realised is if I click on here and I go, I want this now to be a minibus on a Sunday, because I'm assuming the passenger numbers are going to be so much lower, it leaves, so Sunday will be a minibus, and yet we could still be using the MIDI during the week and on the Saturday. So I like this. This is actually a really, really clever feature and really useful. So that's how that's worked in there. And then, just because I can, we'll put the one other Swansea route. So this is basically the same, but we need 14 stops. So I'm going to quickly fly through and put this one in. So we're out and back, coming through this way, coming up, and then we do a loop around the houses over here, and then we use the primary school there, Hadford Primary School, as our timing point, and then back. Initially I was like, I'm not going to care about this here, but I've decided now. So we've got City Temple on that main road there, and we just put some waypoints before and after it, so it comes through on the main road. There we go, Swansea 19. There we go, we do Hadford Primary School, we'll copy and paste, and then we do MIDI 1 and Mini at the weekend. Easy peasy. And then if we come in here, everything is ready, so we can assign bus driver. Okay, we have 2 few bus drivers. Well, we'll assign the buses. Oh, that needs a MIDI on 19. Yeah. Okay, we'll have to buy another MIDI bus. but we'll also need some more stuff. But we know how this all works, so I'll quickly rattle through all of this. Well, for now, I'm just going to assign this one of assign it on U for now, and then if I come back into here, so number 19, Swansea, will edit this timetable, and we'll just put this on a MIDI 2. So we have MIDI 2, MIDI 1, and bendy. So as I said, actually we'll go bendy. Why not? Because I know we have spare bendies on this one. It's just so, yeah, we know that works, and that should all have that covered off. So that was how that was basically our lost episode of number 6, and I will wrap it up now. So apologies for missing out on that one, and apologies again for having no fun fact, but I will bring over a fun fact. Well, I will use episode 6 fun fact on the next episode. So until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Ciao for now.